Es 16 de junio 2022. Ojalá tiene una excelente semana. Aquí vamos a revisar el más reciente en migración, empezando en inglés, pero como siempre puede poner sus preguntas en el lenguaje que usted quiera, en el momento que usted quiere. All right, so starting off the week, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like to brag often. Still do like to brag every now and again. But check out what we got last night. I was asked to go to the DACA anniversary celebration put on by ADAC. I'm sitting there enjoying the show, enjoying the festivities, and they say special recognition to this guy right here, right? Certificate is awarded to thank you for your outstanding dedication and commitment to help our immigrant communities throughout these years. Amazing, right? Completely caught me off guard. On a recognition, I want to say, of course, for the entire office, because for the last 10 years we've been, going to any DACA-related Know Your Rights presentation, free workshop fill-out applications, free consultations, community meetings, being able to serve the community in the way that we can with our law license, be present at civil disobedience actions, represent people. Initial appearance, represent people when they chain themselves to the ICE building, represent people when they take over senators' offices to demand more than just DACA, demand immigration reform. It's been my honor and my pleasure to do that. Hola, Uriel Osorio. Thanks for joining over there on YouTube. Any questions, comments, concerns? Feel free to put them down. Love to know where you're watching at, where you're watching from. Let me know as well. Again, reflections on the 10 years. Man, I can't believe it's been 10 years. It feels just like yesterday being at Univision, first night out, answering people's questions, people afraid to apply, people not wanting to apply, thinking the government, someone like Trump was going to come in someday. All those things we dealt with since day one. I can't believe it's been 10 years. Thanks, Mr. Brain, for tuning in. Great to see you. It's just unbelievable to think 10 years has gone by. And we still don't have immigration reform. All we have is a work permit, promise not be deported for 2 years, and that's for the 700,000 people that are still in the program. It doesn't include multiple people that I've talked to this week that are high school graduates that are looking to go out in the world and do something and can't get approved for the new program. It doesn't include the moms and dads that have been here for 20, 30, 40 years. We're still stuck with absolutely nothing. Okay. Those that do have DACA, as Mr. Brain says, quiero viajar con parole a Honduras, sí pueden todavía, ¿verdad? Sí existe el programa todavía de advanced parole. Hemos ganado varios aquí, algunos diciendo que puede ir a visitar familia, otros relacionados al trabajo, otros relacionados a la educación. So, si es una de esas tres maneras, sí lo puede hacerlo. Con gusto puede mandarme un mensaje privado o marca el número aquí y podemos analizar sus opciones con gusto. 602-910-4040. No cobramos por la primera consulta, siempre aquí para servir. Okay? Muy, muy importante, tiene que ser de educación, humanitaria o de negocio. Educación, humanitaria, negocio. Relacionado a eso, quizás podemos ganar advanced parole. Right? Específicamente revisamos su estatus, su educación, su trabajo para ver si podemos hacer un plan de algo excelente. Están ahí mis amigos ahorita de ADAC que nos estamos viendo ayer en la celebración y hoy muchos de ellos se fueron a México y llegaron a México ahorita. Yo estoy en el estado de Arizona, pero con derechos a practicar en todos los estados en el país. Tenemos clientes en California, Texas, Mississippi, Nueva York, Florida, y estoy olvidando muchos estados también. Okay. Entonces, vamos a regresar a la tema. Sorry, I go in English, Spanish. That's just how we do it in this bilingual world, right? So we got the DACA, people still fighting. And who do we see here? We see former President Obama, and who's this guy right here? Tony Antonio Valdovinos, who knows? All of a sudden I just look at this article and I see there he is right next to President Obama. And if you haven't seen his Broadway show yet, go check it out, right? And this was yesterday talking about push for greater immigration reform. I saw a lot of people out there in our local legislature, a lot of people on the federal level, people at the ALA conference all saying the same thing. We're sick and tired of having just DACA. Always good to be grateful in life. Every morning I wake up and I'm grateful for what I have, for my family, for my health, for my office, for those that we serve, and just start in gratitude. But you can't always just be in gratitude if you want social change, if you want justice, because we don't currently live in a completely just world. So you have to get to the point where you say, I'm happy, I'm content as a human being, I love my life, I love my community, I love my family, but we deserve more. We deserve more than just the work permit for 700,000 people. We deserve immigration reform, right? So that's what a lot of yesterday was about, and celebrating. We have to celebrate the victory that was DACA 10 years ago, because originally it was going to be nothing. We weren't going to get anything until young people took over streets, young people took over offices, young people demanded that Obama change his position and actually do something, which is how we got DACA in the first place. So, where are we at today? Still the need for more movement, still the need to do more stuff, right? All right, so that's the DACA. What else is going on in the world of immigration? Supreme Court won't let states defend Trump public charge immigration rule abandoned by Biden. What the heck does this mean? One of the original grounds of inadmissibility, the reason why immigration cannot let someone become a permanent resident, is public charge. Been around since the beginning of the Immigration Nationality Act, right? Public charge was redefined. Trump was so brazen that he redefined a term that had already been defined for decades in the immigration world, making it more difficult for people to become permanent residents, mainly poor, brown, and black people. Let's be honest, right? Biden took that away and said no more. States like horrible, pathetic states like the great state of Arizona, where I was born and raised and will live my entire life, decided when Biden did that they didn't like it. So Arizona and a dozen other states, right, stepped in saying the federal government ended the program without following the proper administrative steps, such as seeking public comment. The same violation of APA that we've seen a lot in DACA cases and whatnot. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Guess what? We get to never find out, because the Supreme Court said we're not going to take the case. Didn't give a reason, didn't give an explanation, just simply said we're not going to take it. I thought public charge argument was dead already. I forgot that racist Mark Brnovich, Arizona Attorney General, decided to waste our taxpayer money and go after some hate and stop people from becoming legal permanent residents who were trying to do it the right way. I forgot about that until we got this article here saying, hey, by the way, Supreme Court's finally shot down ridiculous Arizona, not going to be able to do it. So we start with the good. We start with the award, right? Show the award, how fancy, how exciting that is. We start with the victory at the Supreme Court. Maybe I'll even take a drink of coffee. You can just see the logo here, branding. Feel the love, right? But then we got to go in the negative. And while we're on the Supreme Court, why don't we just stick with that, right? Supreme Court case, it's kind of complicated, kind of weird, the facts around this case, but there's a guy who runs a small dinky hotel up in Washington called the Smuggler's Inn. I say dinky, normally I'd be more respectful, but this guy's like playing both sides, like being an informant for the government and trying to help immigrants. Like, you're confused, what are you doing? Nonetheless, this guy gets thrown to the floor by a Border Patrol agent, has his documents unlawfully seized. The Border Patrol agent even goes as far as calling the IRS to investigate the guy. The guy gets audited. So he turns around and sues the Border Patrol agent for a violation of his Fourth and First Amendment rights. Goes to federal district court in what's called a Bivens claim. This federal officer violated my constitutional rights. I should be awarded damages. And the district court says, no, doesn't fit into Bivens. Attorney, what's Bivens? What are you talking about? All right, so let's go back, time machine 1965, Bivens versus 6 agents of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Mr. Bivens had his home searched without a warrant, without his consent. He was handcuffed and humiliated in front of his wife and children. Visual strip search. So he ended up suing for $15,000. I'm guessing it was a lot of money. I'm hoping it was a lot of money in 65 for humiliation and mental suffering. Right? The question there, does the violation of an individual's Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable search and seizure give rise into a federal claim for damages? By a 6-3 decision here, including the great Thurgood Marshall in the 6th, the Supreme Court in 65, or probably 68, probably a little bit later, said, yes, you are allowed, if Federal Bureau of Narcotics agents go into your house without a warrant, search the premises without a warrant, if it's an unreasonable search and seizure within your house, you can sue them. Now, a little foreshadowing here, because the dissent is always people that don't agree. So if it's 6-3, 6 justices said yes, 3 said no. The dissent alludes to something that's very relevant nowadays. Because what they said was, this isn't even right because Congress hasn't passed a law, a specific law, to allow money damages if you're aggrieved by a federal agent. We had the court, we had 6 saying yes it does, we had 3 saying no, so forget about it. We fast forward to today, right, 2022, Supreme Court sides with the border agents, and guess what? 6-3 decision, there's that number again, 6 saying no, you can't sue, 3 saying yes, you should have been able to sue, saying that the First Amendment and Fourth Amendment claims cannot be brought in federal court for money damages because Congress has not passed a specific law allowing that to happen. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay, First Amendment, I get it, because even Judge Sotomayor in her dissent says, yeah, First Amendment shouldn't be in a Bivens claim either, but Fourth Amendment should. But then you're saying, well, attorney, you told me Fourth Amendment for Bivens, you're saying Fourth Amendment for this guy, shouldn't it be Fourth Amendment? Well, we have to be more specific. What in the Fourth Amendment? Go back here, it's without a warrant, search the premises, right? So we're talking about unreasonable searches and seizures, violation of the Fourth Amendment. What we're talking about here in the Smugglers In case is excessive use of force, not the exact Bivens unreasonable search and seizure. So for that reason, the Supreme Court said, no, we need an act of Congress. This builds off their prior case where they said that a young Mexican child shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent, do you have to repeat those facts again? How disgusting is that? Does not have the right to sue under Bivens as well, because that isn't in a statute brought by Congress, right? Ridiculous. We got our good friend Johnny Lozoya, Latino paparazzi, watching from the beach. He's probably there to shoot a lowrider show on the beach, probably switches and sand, or 6'4" Impalas and triple gold Daytons on the water. Something exciting. My man Johnny, if you don't follow him already, please go give him a follow. Amazing photos he always comes out with, documenting the movement here in Phoenix for many, many generations. Decades, we'll call it, Johnny. Decades, right? So that's what's going on with the U.S. Supreme Court. That's what we got. We'll call it a victory because it was just a little order that says we can no longer worry about public charge anymore. But this one, honestly, as someone born in Douglas, Arizona, someone that sees the rise in the Border Patrol, that sees the rise in violence towards people in border communities, this one hurts. You know, this one hurts that, what do you mean? Are we somewhat less humans that we shouldn't have the right to sue a federal agent when they violate our rights? What they say in this decision, they essentially say, we can violate your rights if we're a federal agent, if it doesn't specifically have to do with the exact facts of Bivens. If it's slightly different like it is here, you were given excessive force, but you weren't inside your house at the time, then the Border Patrol agent can do that. Why? Because there's a recourse to stop that. Guess what they're saying the recourse is? Guess what these 6 justices said we should be able to do? File a complaint with the Border Patrol. What? How far are we going to get with a complaint to the Border Patrol about the Border Patrol abusing us? The guy's supervisor is going to tell us whether or not something was right or wrong or constitutional or not constitutional? There's no opportunity to be represented by counsel. There's no opportunity to appeal. And there's not even any money damages. It's just you can complain to stop the constitutional violation from happening to somebody else in the future. Absolutely ridiculous. This is a disgusting decision written by justices, put on the Supreme Court by Trump and others, to say we shouldn't read into our Constitution rights. We shouldn't read into the Constitution of the United States that we have a right to sue against our government, to submit grievances in a federal court against our government for injustices that are brought upon us. Leave it to Congress for a solution. And they don't go as far as getting rid of Bivens completely. They're too cowardly to do that. And also politically, they probably know if we completely get rid of Bivens, if we overturn that case, then Congress will be more likely to act and pass a law that holds officers accountable. As we continue to spend billions on border security, we continue to leave out border residents as we militarize these border zones and don't properly account for the violations of people's rights. All right? Unbelievable. Appreciate it, Johnny. Appreciate you tuning in from Califas out there. Hope you get back safe. All right? So that's what's going on with the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, I went good news, then I will hit you with some bad news. What do we have to end on? Hate to do it, but bad news. Possible future bad news. All right, the states of Arizona and Texas, someone needs to just slap them in the face, right? We have Texas suing to stop DHS's policy of immigration enforcement. So who controls immigration enforcement is the president. President Obama had a set of standards that he set to ICE agents and Border Patrol agents. I want you to prioritize on people that have felonies, significant misdemeanors, recent interests, and of course everybody always says terrorists. President Trump comes along and changes that and says, Border Patrol, ICE agents, I want you to focus on everybody that doesn't have papers. Everybody. Everybody is a target for deportation. Everybody is a target for arrest if they don't have status. President Biden comes in and says, after many, many months, which I think took too long, and says, I'm going to change those priorities. I'm going to limit that to recent entrants, national security, aggravated felony people. So you're thinking to yourself, you're reading it, you're like, oh, so you're going after dangerous people. Not that I'm a fan of labeling or criminalizing anybody, but I'm just saying, well, that's almost logical. Like if you're going to focus resources, that you focus it on people that have committed violence or intend to commit violence on a mass level, and that's who we go after. We don't go after people working in chicken plants. We don't go after grandmas. We don't go after moms who get in car accidents and are passengers. We focus on people that have done something wrong or have expressed an intent to do something very wrong to us here in the country. What does Texas do? Well, they don't like that. Why don't you just focus on yourself, Texas, right? So they sue. Where do they sue? In a friendly judge appointed by Trump. So this friendly judge appointed by Trump says that ICE is not allowed to do their job because of the announcement from the Biden administration. And they have to essentially stop following the policies. Now, they gave a week to the United States government to appeal before this goes into play. My guess is the U.S. government's going to appeal, so I'll report back on this as it goes through the pipeline, but something to be very, very concerned about. Because one thing that I've seen as an immigration attorney, one of the great changes that we've been able to see is the treatment of people who are in removal proceedings. You know, not a lot has gotten better, not a lot has improved. To be quite honest with you, we still don't have immigration reform, we still don't have what we want to see, but we were seeing in removal defense much more victories than we were seeing before. Abogado Juliana joins us from New York, New York, on top of big buildings at the AILA National Conference. Hope she's having a great time out there. Got to meet Mr. Ira Kurzban himself with this giant book and asked how will that even play out. So I think it'll play out that the U.S. government will appeal to the Fifth Circuit. They will ask for an emergency stay the same way they asked for the emergency stay of a past order that Judge Tipton gave, and they won, right? So I'm hoping that we have a similar victory, even if it's the Fifth Circuit, which we normally lose at, right? When Judge Tipton goes too crazy, they can put an emergency stay in place. But the difference here is this is not a motion for, what's it called, summary preliminary injunction. They had a trial, however that works, in a bench trial, I'm sure. But they had a trial, so this is a ruling after the trial. So nonetheless, that could be a little bit different in terms of getting it stayed. But the reality is, I think it would probably revert back, so disgusting to think, it would probably revert back to the Trump administration the same way it reverted back to the Remain in Mexico, that essentially Biden was ordered to continue the Remain in Mexico program. So I would think that they would put back into place the Trump guideline, which makes no sense. How you lost the presidency, how do you still get to control the immigration enforcement and who the priorities are? But that is what happens when you lose elections, ladies and gentlemen. The Trump effect, no longer in the president, but the people he appointed to be federal judges are still there and still essentially ruling in his absence, right? So that's what we're seeing in the world of immigration. Question, comments, concerns, voy a cambiar a español, pero como siempre puede poner sus preguntas en inglés si ustedes quieren. Sí tenemos pregunta aquí de Brain, Mr. Brain, abogado, si la persona porque lo pidió parole entre a Estados Unidos con visa me afecta eso a mí, se viajó por razones humanitarias. So sí, cuando una persona aplica, estamos hablando de advance parole, ¿verdad? Una persona que tiene DACA puede pedir salir del país por razones humanitarias, de negocios, de educación. So, si pidió salir por razones humanitarias a ver una persona y esa persona entra al país, sí está perdido su argumento, ¿verdad? Tiene que buscar otro argumento, tiene que ser una persona que no tiene la capacidad de entrar a Estados Unidos. Sí es un problema bien grande. So, a mí me gusta hacer las razones humanitarias, pero también me gusta hacer relacionado a educación, relacionado al trabajo. Hemos logrado casos, por ejemplo, como alguien que es un chef muy bueno y quiere estudiar las comidas en ciertas regiones de México. Hemos ganado razones humanitarias, que una persona es una persona que sabe muy bien construcción y quiere ir a hacer unas reparaciones a unas escuelas en áreas que no tienen mucho dinero, y eso es una razón humanitaria. Hay más razones por razones médicas que las personas pueden ir. Es muy, muy importante buscar algo que usted puede ser aprobado. Okay? Sigue con sus preguntas, comunidad. Come with your questions, English or Spanish, if you so please. Ya estamos hablando en español. El más reciente noticias, algo bueno que hemos visto en el mundo de migración. Lo estamos viendo que migración perdió, el Trump perdió en el cargo público. Todos recordamos mucho miedo que tuvimos, mucha gente, muchas llamadas, mucho miedo en nuestra comunidad del cambio de cargo público. No paró cuando Trump perdió. Entró Biden, Biden dijo, no quiere hacerlo más, ni voy a seguir con las demandas. Lo que pasó es estados tontos como Arizona entró al caso y dijeron, pues si el Biden no quiere hacer, yo quiero dirigir la demanda. El abogado general aquí, Brnovich, que era una persona que fue reconocido en una premios programa de latinos hace un mes, 2 meses, él decidió seguir y preguntar al Corte Suprema que él presente el caso para que la cambie otra vez a la definición de cargo pública, a la definición de Trump. Cambió la definición, cambió qué significa cargo público Trump. Antes era una cosa, él entró y dijo, voy a cambiar lo que significan esas palabras, porque quiere que menos gente que no habla inglés, menos gente que personas de color, menos gente que no tiene mucha educación formal, no pueden ser residentes permanentes. Esa fue la razón por qué el cambio. Pero el bueno es que el Corte Suprema dijeron que no puede entrar el caso Estado de Arizona. No escribieron decisión, no pusieron nada importante, nada más dijeron que no van a tomar el caso. Entonces significa que no pueden ir con otro argumento de cargo público ya murió. ¿Verdad? Francisca says, thank you for explaining court decisions, help community understand the historical context, the court decision, and the impact. My absolute pleasure, Francisca. Had the privilege of going to law school. A lot of people in the community helped that become a reality. That's something that I'm always very, very grateful for. All the people within the community, CPLC, ASU, that you did a lot of work so I could get there. I do feel that I am in some way honoring that by giving back with the knowledge that I have. So appreciate that. Gracias. Ok, so eso fue algo bueno del Corte Suprema. Algo malo del Corte Suprema, desfortunadamente, algo muy, muy triste que hemos visto. El Corte Suprema anunció un caso que me enojó tanto que no podía ni hacer video la semana pasada porque estaba tan enojado. Pero ellos dijeron que los agentes de la patrulla fronteriza básicamente pueden violar los derechos de las personas que viven en la frontera y no hay recursos en Corte Federal, no hay recursos de abogados con demandas en contra de esos agentes. ¿Por qué dijeron eso? Hace mucho tiempo había un caso en 1965 que se llama el caso de Bivens. Un señor que se llama Bivens que entró unos agentes federales a su casa sin un orden. Otra vez comunidad, los oficiales pueden entrar a su casa sin un orden firmado por el juez. No. Si ellos dicen que es emergencia, sí pueden, pero si es una investigación, necesita un orden del juez para hacer la investigación. Violaron los derechos, humillaron él en frente de su familia y puso demanda preguntando por $15,000 del señor Bivens. Llegó hasta el Corte Suprema, ellos dijeron que sí, un individual que tenía sus derechos violados por un agente federal puede poner demanda por violación del 4 amendment de la Constitución basado en que su caso fue revisado sin su permiso. Okay? Después del caso de Bivens, había de 65 a ahorita muchas más demandas diciendo siempre las demandas de Bivens, porque es una demanda en corte de un agente federal. Luego, como van cambiando el corte, va cambiando las opiniones de los jueces. Y llegó al fin de día a esta decisión diciendo que los agentes de patrulla fronteriza pueden violar los derechos. También hay otro caso hace como 2 años de un muchacho que estaba brincando, lo disparó migración y lo mató. El Corte Suprema también dijeron, esa persona, ese niño, su familia, no puede seguir con demanda de Bivens porque no está escrito por el Congreso una ley que da permiso a una demanda civil en contra de un agente federal. Usaron el mismo argumento en este caso y lo dijeron, es el trabajo del Congreso a pasar una ley para que la gente sí pueda poner la demanda en Corte Federal en contra de agentes federales. Como la misma cosa de DACA, dijeron, con DACA es algo que el Congreso tiene que hacer, no vamos a decir nada ni bueno ni malo. Lo hicieron el mismo aquí, pero más negativo. Dijeron, no puede entrar a nuestros cortes, no puede ir al corte a pedir justicia cuando la ley es violada por un agente federal. ¿Y por qué dijeron eso? Porque el Congreso no ha pasado una ley específicamente diciendo que sí pueden hacerlo. Entonces, ¿por qué existen cortes? ¿Por qué existen jueces y abogados si no es para pelear por justicia? Si no es para analizar la Constitución que escribimos para salir en contra un rey que era injusto, para dar derechos al público en contra del gobierno. Para mí es muy ilógico, pero ojalá nos vemos algo positivo del Congreso, que pasen una reforma migratoria, también derecho a demandar a agentes federales cuando las leyes son violados, es exactamente lo que necesitamos. ¿Okay? So, esos son los cambios más recientes. Uno, que tenemos el ojo muy cerca, comunidad, no había muchos artículos sobre eso. Había otra demanda por otro estado tonto, estado de Texas. Cambió la prioridad de quién puede ser deportado y quién no debe ser deportado Biden. Con Obama era limitado los que tienen felonías, delitos menores significados, recién entrados. Entró Trump y dijo, yo quiero deportar a todos. ICE, patrulla fronteriza, si encuentra a alguien que no tiene papeles, pone procesos de deportación. Biden entró y dijo, voy a cambiar eso. Sí lo hicieron más mejor que tenía con Obama, porque Obama deportó millones de personas. El deporter in chief, dijeron muchas personas. Biden dijo, yo quiero que mis agentes se enfocan en terroristas, personas recién entrados y personas que tienen felonías agravadas. Básicamente diciendo, lógicamente, vamos a ir con personas que son violentos, que quieren hacer daño en la comunidad o han hecho daño en la comunidad. ¿Okay? Ya Texas no le gustaba eso. Texas quiere deportar a todos igual que Arizona. Entonces pusieron demanda en frente de un juez que puso Trump para recibir una decisión eliminando el orden del Biden. Eso pasó hace una semana. Dieron al gobierno una semana para dar una apelación. Sabemos que tenemos un ojo muy cerca en este caso porque sí lo puede cambiar drásticamente como está pasando con ICE, con migración ahorita, especialmente en frente a los jueces de migración. ¿Okay? Muchas preguntas, muchísimas gracias a todos por las preguntas. Vamos a agarrar unas preguntas aquí. Abogado, ¿por qué me dan múltiples entradas por DACA? Fui en noviembre y solo me dieron 40 días y yo pedí múltiples entradas. Cuando está llenándose la aplicación de Advance Parole, sí da el permiso de preguntar, ¿quiere una entrada o quiere múltiples entradas? Yo he visto en las mayorías de aplicaciones, aunque si usted pone un X en quiere más entradas, si su razón es más basado en una sola cosa, que es más razonable que van a usar una vez, lo están dando de una vez. Nada más de poner el X es también la razón porque lo están poniendo. ¿Okay? Y Tony Morea Jr. también nos está viendo aquí en YouTube. Hola, abogado, recién me conectó, ya están abiertos los aplicaciones de DACA. Sí, es hasta cuándo. Ok. Eso es muy raro. Yo puedo llenar su aplicación de DACA hoy. Podemos llenarlo aquí en línea, mandarlo para recibir su paquete. Pero todos los paquetes que hemos mandado de personas nuevas que quieren entrar al programa que son elegibles, entró el país antes de 2017, 15 de junio, quedado 2007 hasta aquí continuamente, no tiene felonías, significant misdemeanors, 3 o más misdemeanors, graduó la prepa, está en escuela, etcétera, etcétera. Okay, si califica por todo eso, los paquetes que estamos mandando no están aprobando ni negando. Mucha gente están diciendo a Biden, el juez dijo a usted de poner una nueva propuesta del programa de DACA, publicarlo para que usted pueda empezar de nuevo con las nuevas aplicaciones. No ha hecho. No sé por qué. A lo mejor piensan que otra vez, el momento que él ponga eso, van a regresar al mismo juez y le van a negar eso también. Pero no hemos visto este movimiento. So, aunque hagamos una demanda federal diciendo que tiene que poner decisión en esas aplicaciones, sí puede mandarlo, pero ahorita no nos está dando decisión negativa ni positiva. ¿Okay? Y ojalá tenemos pronto. Y con todos que están en Phoenix, también tenemos este sábado junto con Lucha, con muchos grupos no lucrativas en el Metro Tech High School. Vamos a estar ahí de las 10 de la mañana hasta la 1 dando consultas gratis también y hablando de Advanced Parole y las opciones que tiene todos con DACA. Están bienvenidos de venir. Entramos el año pasado, mis 3 hijos entraban menores de 15 años, pueden aplicar DACA cuando salen las regulaciones. So, todavía los requisitos son esos que entraron hace mucho tiempo. Si Biden ponga otro anuncio de un cambio que están ampliando el programa o quiere ampliarlo, va a regresar con demandas, ¿verdad? Y probablemente con el mismo juez va a bloquear. So, yo no tengo mucho confianza en expandiendo DACA pronto. Pienso que sí necesitamos al fin de día un acto de Congreso porque los jueces están muy activos ahorita en parando todos los cambios buenos que quiere hacer Biden. Okay? And let's see what our man Johnny's saying here. In my opinion, seems to be that the judge in Texas should have to explain his decision, how it's for the better of the country, how we'll all benefit. A friend of mine, former migrant, once told me, in America, justice is for sale. That's what seems to be taking place today. Nothing has changed in 65 signing of the Civil Rights Act except the price of bail. Absolutely. And the Bivens case comes from when, right? The Bivens case, coincidentally enough, comes from 1965. And that was an era when we were getting change. We were seeing what? We were seeing a social movement across the entire country. When there are social movements across the country, the courts have to react, but oftentimes years later. Congress has to react oftentimes months or years after the movements. So as a result of those social movements, everybody that took to the streets, everybody that protested, we get great victories. We get the Civil Rights Bill. We get cases like Bivens. Long story short, all these years go by. Don't make me do the math. We're at like 60 years, 70 years now. Go by. Those social movements aren't as strong as they were back then. A racist guy gets elected. He puts racist people in positions of power. We start seeing the reversal of those hard-fought victories that we had decades ago, right? So we need to get back on it. We need to increase the social movements. Need to get the right people in positions of power. Need to get people more than just want to have their own power and reelected every year, every 4 years, and get people that actually want the change to happen so we can get things going back in the right direction. I'm still very positive it can happen, right? I'm still very positive. The Supreme Court did not say, never ever in the world will we have an opportunity to sue a Border Patrol agent. But they're simply saying, Congress, time to act, right? DACA, the Supreme Court said, Congress, time to act. So what time is it now? It's time for Congress to act. Time to get it done. Right? It's time for the community and the people to say, enough is enough. Let's get these changes done. What else do we have coming out soon? We got the Roe v. Wade new case coming out. We don't know when, but we know it's going to. We already know it was leaked, right? And it's not going to change substantially from the leaked version. I'm sure it'll still be the same decision, maybe a few words different, but that's going to set off social movement as well. So perhaps that will be an opportunity to see broader change and the broader change that we need. Right? So ahí está, comunidad, nuestro Facebook Live, Instagram, no, not on Insta right now, Facebook, YouTube. Follow us on TikTok at Abogado Ray. I've been told, Ray, got to do more TikTok. And they told me again, hey, Ray, we got to do more TikTok. So I guess TikTok is the future. I won't be dancing, but I will still be given as much education as I can. Thanks so much, everybody. Que tiene una excelente semana. Nos vemos sábado o, como siempre, si tienen sus preguntas, nos está viendo en vivo. Nos vemos en esos momentos. Y con gusto marcamos o mandamos mensajes privados también para contestar sus preguntas. Migración, accidentes, penal. Aquí estamos para servir. Que tengan excelente día.